Hey guys, it's Brandon Miniman from Pocketnow.com, and in this video we're going to compare the HTC Thunderbolt with the Samsung Focus running on Windows Phone 7. Let's get to it. So previously we had compared the HTC Thunderbolt with the iPhone 4 and with the Inspire 4G. We'll put up links on the video right now so that you can jump back to those videos, or if you want to watch this video all the way through, you'll see links at the end of the video as well if you want to see the other comparisons. Again, our reason for comparing all of these devices is to help you make decisions. We know it can be confusing. There are a lot of smartphone choices, and hopefully we're helping to make it a little bit easier as all of these new phones are coming out. Okay, so let's talk about these devices. The Samsung Focus here is kind of representing all of at&t's Windows Phone 7 devices, because at the end of the day they operate about the same, they have the same specs. So the other devices on at&t that you can choose from are the HTC Surround, you've got the LG Quantum, and now you've got the HTC HD7S, which is the T-Mobile HD7, but with a Super LCD screen and of course on at&t. It's coming out later this spring. We don't know anything about pricing, although it's probably going to be about $99, maybe $149. Speaking of pricing, let's compare these devices in terms of pricing. The Thunderbolt is definitely more expensive than the Focus. It's $249, whereas the Samsung Focus is $99. Pretty inexpensive there comparatively. For data plans on the Samsung Focus, you can opt for the $25 per month 2 GB data plan. With the Thunderbolt, you can pay $30 and get unlimited data. And of course, the Thunderbolt is rocking a 4G LTE modem, so you'll get much faster data speeds, about 3 to 5 times faster, maybe even more than that in optimal conditions. So if you want the fastest in data speeds, the Thunderbolt is the one to go with, although the Samsung Focus is the more economical route. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about hardware. The screen on the Thunderbolt is 4.3 inches diagonal, which will be the same size as the upcoming HD7S. On the Focus, you get a smaller screen, 4 inches, but it's Super AMOLED, meaning that the contrast is really, really good, as we're going to see when we turn these on and start comparing one screen to the other. Now inside, the Focus has 512 megabytes of RAM. The Thunderbolt has 768 megabytes of RAM. Both have a 1 gigahertz Snapdragon processor. We're going to see again how they compare in day-to-day operation once we turn them on. The Focus is much, much, much thinner than the Thunderbolt. It's probably half as thin, or at least it looks half as thin. And on the back here, we've got an 8 megapixel camera over here on the Thunderbolt and a 5 megapixel camera on the Focus. Both are capable of 720p video. Both take really good photos and really good video. Now with the Focus, you get the dedicated camera button, which is very, very handy. And of course, you get that Windows Phone 7 feature where even if the device is turned off or in standby, if you tap and hold on the camera button, it will turn on the camera. And there is the camera. So that's a really cool feature of Windows Phone 7. The Thunderbolt doesn't have that because, well, it's not a feature of Android. The Thunderbolt doesn't even have a button on the side for the camera, which is kind of annoying, but some people probably find it to be no big deal at all. Alright, so of course the Thunderbolt has a front-facing camera, no front-facing camera on the Focus. Windows Phone 7 doesn't yet support front-facing cameras. So let's turn on both of these devices and talk a little bit about the software. We're kind of comparing apples to oranges here. They're totally different in terms of the interface paradigm, but we're going to do our best to try to compare them here. So let's unlock the screen there, unlock the screen here. So the home screens are vastly different. On Android, you scroll side to side, you get live widgets. Over on Windows Phone 7, you get these tiles, and these tiles can show you information like the email counter, and if you have the calendar widget, it will show, or the widget, the live tile as they call it, it will show you information. But in terms of home screen versatility, Android definitely takes the cake in that respect, although if you want something simple and very clean and just no nonsense, you may really enjoy what Windows Phone 7 has to offer. Now right off the bat, you can see how sharp the contrast is on the Focus. I mean, look at the blacks on the side there. The blacks are true black, and they just look fantastic. Okay, so on Windows Phone 7, to access your program tray, you swipe to the right. Over on in Android, of course, you hit the application tray, you get this big listing, which is sortable. Windows Phone 7 is a little bit more cumbersome to navigate because you get this really long list of applications. that really is just sorted alphabetically. You can't sort it by date or anything like that. On the Thunderbolt and in Android, in particular the Sense interface, you can sort these by date, alphabetical, or by oldest, which is kind of handy when you've got lots and lots of apps. In terms of apps, right now Windows Phone 7 has about, let's jump into the marketplace real quick, has about 10,000 apps, and Android has about 150,000 apps. So you definitely get a more mature app marketplace on Android, although, of course, Windows Phone 7 is getting better each day. They're starting to hit all of the sort of basics, like New York Times, Amazon, and that's really what's important. Some of the off-the-cuff apps aren't as important because there's a lot of those in the Android market, which really helps to almost artificially boost the number of applications in the market. Most people are concerned with the major apps like Pandora, New York Times, Amazon, as we talked about, and both of these devices have that covered. So very, very strong marketplaces on both. Again, Android has a higher number. Let's go back to the home screens. Let's compare web browsing. So we're going to bounce into the browser. We're just going to load Pocketnow right away here. We've got a live tile, or a tile on the home screen. So let's stop this and go to Pocketnow. We'll do a speed test and see how they compare. Now, right now you can tell the big difference between Super LCD and Super AMOLED. Super is a very popular word. We've got very white whites here, dark blacks. Over here on the Super LCD screen, the whites are almost milky in color. It's not that crisp and clear. By itself, the Thunderbolt has a great screen, but when you put it up against a Super AMOLED screen, the story kind of changes. Okay, so let's scroll down, let's zoom in. Very smooth scrolling and panning on both of them. Let's go to the desktop version. Both of these are over the same Wi-Fi network. Let's see which gets there first. Okay, so the Thunderbolt finished first, and Windows Phone 7 is lagging a little bit, which is surprising because Windows Phone 7 is one of the best browsers, and with the Mango update of Windows Phone 7 coming later this year, they're going to bump it up to IE9, which should have an even faster rendering engine. So, kind of slow there. We're just going to stop it there. Obviously, the focus lost. Let's do a speed test in terms of rotating the screen. Okay, so definitely the Thunderbolt beat the focus and the other way. That was perfectly tied. Again, the Thunderbolt won in the landscape. And in portrait, they're pretty much tied. That's kind of interesting. Okay, let's double tap to zoom in, double tap to zoom in. Both are, again, very, very, very smooth. And here's another video we did, the Inspire 4G versus the Thunderbolt. So let's tap on that. See which gets there faster. Of course, you'll get flash elements in Android, whereas in Windows Phone 7, you don't get flash at all. You don't get Silverlight. You really don't get some of those major web technologies. So you'll see down here there's a little green arrow, which means that if I tap on that, it will load the YouTube video. And, wow, actually, oh yeah, I thought there might have been a plug-in here, but it says you will need to upgrade your Adobe Flash Player. The pinch to zoom is just so buttery smooth on Windows Phone 7. It's really remarkable. It beats even the iPhone in terms of just refinement of moving in on a particular element on the web page. Let's zoom all the way out and let it continue to load. It's still loading. Let's go to another website. Let's go to Engadget to see how we do with checkerboards. Let's go to Engadget because that's a particularly long web page. Now, in terms of on-screen keyboards, you can compare them right here. Windows Phone 7 is one of the best on-screen keyboards, but then again, Android is no slouch either. This is HTC's Sense keyboard, which has big letters. You can change it to the T9 style. You can change it to the short type style. A lot of choices there. If you like choice, Android's better. If you don't mind giving what you've been got, that didn't make any sense. If you don't mind getting what you've been given, Windows Phone 7 is the one for you because you can't change the keyboard. Okay, so let's get Engadget going on both of these devices. .com. Got it right here. Let's try to get the same time. Perfect. Okay, so they're off. Engadget's a very long page, so we're going to do the flick test to see which loads faster. So that actually went right to the desktop version. We're going to have to change that. Went to the mobile version, so we could go to the desktop. And here we go, it's going to load it up. It's pretty amazing how far web browsers have come just in 2 or 3 years. It used to be that there were lots of scroll bars, it was difficult to see things, but now it's almost like browsing a web page on the desktop. So again, it's finishing the loading process here on the Samsung Focus. And again, we want to stop this. It's taking too long in the last few seconds. So let's do the flick scroll test. Going to try to hold the device steady and move very quickly down the page. Okay, it's blank, it's filling in as I go down. Okay, so a little bit of checkerboards. What probably has happened is that it's now cached. And so if I do it again, it should be better. Really fast. Oh, maybe not. Okay, so we get some of that blank spot, although as you just saw, it filled in. Let's try it out on the Thunderbolt here. So let's move that aside. Let's flick down the page. Okay, so no checkerboards whatsoever. We'll do it again. Very smooth. On Windows Phone 7, the first or second time through, you get some of that blank space as it tries to sort of catch up with the speed. So overall, in web browsing, we'll say that the Thunderbolt is definitely faster if you're really looking for a phone that browses the web as fast as possible. Now, in terms of data speeds, if you get out there, you're driving your car somewhere, or you're on the bus, or what have you, the Thunderbolt, if you're in a 4G area, will get much faster data speeds. In terms of numbers, we're looking at between 7 and 10 megabits per second down. The upload speed, we're not really sure of because the testing mechanisms that we're using are giving us crazy results. We're getting like 30 up, which doesn't make sense. We'll say it's probably about half the download speed. So you're going to get 3 to 4 to 5 megabits per second up. On the Samsung Focus on AT&T's 3G network, you're going to get about 2.5 megabits per second down, which is not bad at all, and 1.7 megabits per second up. Another thing to consider here is that you cannot tether right now with Windows Phone 7, but you can with the Thunderbolt. Now, there's a tethering plan that you have to pay for. It's about $20 per month, which only applies in this situation to the Thunderbolt. So if you're looking for a device that will allow you to share the internet connection with several different devices, your iPad, your laptop, the Thunderbolt is the one to go for. And finishing things up here, maybe navigation is very important to you, maybe the Maps application. So we're going to jump into the Maps application on both of these devices and just see how they compare in terms of general performance. So we're going to wait for location here. That is not where I am. Zoom out a bunch. Okay, so we've got the approximate location here, and let's turn off aerial view so we can kind of get a similar sort of view. And let's clear the map. Good. Okay, so let's move around. Let's go up to New York City. You can kind of see these in real time as I move around, zoom out. So we're using Bing Maps over here, Google Maps over here. Of course, you'll get the same Bing Maps on every Windows Phone 7. You'll get the same Google Maps on every Android. So really this is just taking kind of a look at the Google Maps, the different mapping applications. So let's go into New York. So we've got sort of a different style of map, purple roads here. You can kind of see how long it takes for it to clear up. Google Maps is now vector-based, so things show up a little bit faster than you would expect on an older sort of mapping application. This Bing Maps is not vector-based. It's kind of based on little images that have to load. But if you're over a fast Wi-Fi network, that's okay. So if we zoom in a lot here on the Google application, you're going to see little buildings pop up if I'm in the right spot. Yep, there I am. Buildings pop up. Very cool. That doesn't happen in Bing Maps. And then you could do the 2-finger tilt and the pivot. This is probably one of the coolest things that Google has done, which will really let you navigate and be very precise when trying to find your way. Bing Maps looks a little bit archaic in that respect. When you get really close, it automatically turns into aerial view, and you zoom out a little bit. Obviously, 2 fingers doesn't do anything, but it's very smooth, it's very capable. It certainly lets you find the nearest Starbucks or the nearest Burger King, whatever you happen to be looking for. So in terms of mapping applications, the default built-in mapping applications, the HTC Thunderbolt excels in this area, and if you get out there, if you're in New York City where they have 4G and you're moving around on the map, things are going to load super fast because you're going to be over that 4G LTE network, whereas on the Focus here running on the AT&T's 3G network, things might be slower in that respect. So hopefully this video was helpful if you're looking at a Windows Phone 7 device versus an HTC Thunderbolt or an Android device. Obviously, there is a lot more we could compare. We just wanted to do sort of an overview about pricing and hardware and software to give you a little bit more information. Again, we've also compared the HTC Thunderbolt with the iPhone and with the Inspire 4G. The links should be up on the video right now, so you can jump to those if you want. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and thank you for watching. That's it for now.